made it. There we go. What's going on? What's going on? What is going on, party people? It's your boy, Coach D Brown, former big leaguer with the Kansas City Royals, former first-round pick with the Kansas City Royals. I got my boy on with me today. You know what I'm saying? We go back like, we go back a long time. When you talk about just really good teammates and somebody that always just keeps you in line. When I talk about somebody who will call you out in a minute and keep you in the straight and narrow, this was a gentleman right to the next to me over here. Okay, he's just I can't only imagine what his kids on his team, I say kids, but grown pro athletes got to deal with when they are dealing with this gentleman over here. Great pitcher. All right. When you talk about knowing how to set up hitters, knowing how to just play the game and was a competitor, this guy was it. And we had a chance to play together. He's going to give you his bio and let you know about his playing career. But, you know, he is a major league pitching guy. Now he's on transition into, even though he's winning his little JMU, you know what I'm saying, representing the school. But, you know, he has transitioned into the pro game now as a pitching coach, teaching pitchers, hopefully not his sarcastic remarks, but pitching, you know, basically teaching them the game. So it's my bad I'm late. He gonna probably, you know, explain and all of that, but thank God that he did. You know, I've been chasing him down for a couple of weeks, but finally got him on. And then of all days, because the timing is different, because of him, I messed up and was a tad late. He's gonna blame it on me, but it is what it is, okay? So it was only fitting because he would have, if I was on time anyway, he would have had something to say about that. But anyway, I want to introduce my boy, longtime friend, great pitcher, great coach. He is with the Atlanta Braves system right now. His name is Dan Meyer. He goes by Danny Meyer, right? He gets upset when I call him Danny Meyer. That's all I know him by. I never call him by just his first name or his last. You know, I got to call him by both, and he gets upset with me when you know, I say that. He's the only one I ever allowed to call me by my government name. You know what I'm saying? Because I have no choice. He rides me. He calls me by my government name. But anyway, without further ado, my boy Danny Meyer is in the place to be. All right, Danny, if you could, man, just introduce yourself, kind of go back to the beginning, and let's rock out, man.
Well, I appreciate you having me on your show, Jamal. You know, it's one of them things where I'm always, you know, we've always been tight. So anytime I can help you out, you know, come in early and wait, you know, that's what I'm here to do for you. So glad to have me, man. Just, you know, I can give you the quick run through. Grew up right outside of Philadelphia in South Jersey. Went to a relatively small high school, Kingsway. Played baseball at JMU. I just got back from JMU speaking to the team and parents and alumni there.
You didn't start it, did you?
What's that?
Did you start it during your
Nah, man, I killed it. But
okay.
I got my new gear. That's why I'm wearing it right now.
Okay, I got you. Go ahead, keep going. I'm sorry.
Played 3 years at James Madison. First round pick for the Atlanta Braves. Spent a year and a half in the minor leagues with them. Made my debut in 2004. Traded to Oakland for Tim Hudson. Had some injury problems, some shoulder stuff that, you know, just kind of was bad luck, I guess you would say. Got through that. Spent a couple more years in the big leagues spent 4 years with Oakland. Got, you know, back and forth 2 years in the big leagues with Oakland. Got about a year and a half with the Marlins in the big leagues. You know, father time caught up, got some arthritis, got old, and just kind of transitioned into the pro game, to the pitching coach side about 2014. I've been pitching coach now. This is my 6th year. I've been in Rome for a couple of years. I've been a rehab coordinator, handle injuries. And this year I'm going to be in the Florida State League in Kissimmee with the Braves. So looking forward to, you know, helping you guys out, anybody that's listening. You know, and here to answer any questions I can.
Well, hold on 1 second. They said I had some microphone issues. Can you hear me, Danny Meyer?
You're good on my side. You hear me?
Okay, yeah. He said having a little. Yeah, you're good. Now, one of my guys was saying I was having microphone issues. If you guys if I'm still having it, let me know. Let me say what's up to Jerry, Mississippi, Sagan, Louisiana. What's going on? Bubba in Alabama, Mark in Indiana, Danny, what's going on, baby? Andy, Tony in Cali, Manuel, Texas, what's going on? Rick Rock, Cali in the house. Jerry, what's up, Tadio, what's going on? Nick, what's going on up in Canada? All right. So yeah, so they saying no issues. Okay, cool. All right. So what's going on? Maryland in the house.
You just saw Rick Rod out in Sacktown. Shout out.
Is he in Sacktown?
Rick Rodriguez, our opening coach at Sacktown.
Not your boy. This is Rick Rod. He's Southern Cal. Yeah, he's Southern Cal. Love you from Richie Rod. That was your boy, wasn't it? He loved you. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, shout out to everybody that's on, man. And I'm sure there will be more people coming in. But so let's go back to what I didn't know Danny Meyer. I mean, my brain, so many guys I played with and stuff. I didn't know you was a first rounder. Danny Meyer, you was a first rounder?
Yeah, I supplemental first round that year with the Braves. They picked a guy named Jeff Francoeur in front of me. And then I got picked in the supplemental first round, and the Braves picked this catcher, wasn't very good at the time, Brian McCann, second round. So, you know what I mean? They had a pretty good draft right there. Chuck James, some other guys, but
I promise you, I did not know that, man. So you got picked in between Jeff Francoeur and V-Mac, huh?
Glad you're always prepared for these interviews, man.
I know, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. They must have, I guess you can't hit on all of them. You know what I'm saying?
You're grinding.
Huh?
Grinding.
J Meyer, what's going on? T Sup, what's going on in the house? B Web, what's going on? Danielle, how are you? All right. So anyway, I love you, man. I promise you, it's been a while, man. This guy over here, man. So JMU, man. So talk about your recruiting process. How did it go? How did you end up at JMU? What other schools had, you plugged in? Because you got a lot of high school, parents here or middle school kids that are kind of going through the recruiting process now. Tell some of the steps, that you took to get to JMU and, obviously then to get, picked in the first round. But take me back to high school, Danny Meyer, man. What are the things you did that you got a full ride to, scholarship to JMU, man? Tell me what's up.
I mean, the game's changed a little bit now. I know, with everything that's going on with travel ball and, the internet, and just kind of the depth of all that. But for me, it was just, good old fashioned, just driving. My parents, my dad, we used to do showcases. We used to play, kind of like American Legion. And then my old man used to like get a little highlight video, write a letter, send that VHS off to college coaches. I mean, you remember them days. I don't know if VHSs were alive when you were, or they were made yet, but
yeah. I know you're a little bit younger. Yeah.
But they and just we got on a road and we drove schools and went into coaches because I wasn't really heavily recruited at high school. I was a lefty. I was about 82 to 83 miles an hour. But you could see some stuff. I could pitch a little bit. I had some pitchability, good changeup. I was about $160 and 6'3", so I had some projectability there. My grades were pretty good, so we just kind of got on the road and grind a little bit. And I was still pretty good in high school, so I took some visits to like Rider. I'm a Northeast kid, so I went to like Rider University, University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Took a visit, Marist, and then I kind of got lucky. I did a little showcase at Haverford College. It was right at small private school right across the street from Villanova up in Philly. The JMU pitching coach was Terry Rooney at the time. Now he's been at Stetson and Notre Dame, and I think he's currently the pitching coach at Houston. He saw me throw, had me come down to James Madison for a visit. I knew right away I liked it. I loved it down there. It's school, as far south as I could go for the weather and stuff, and just signed and went down there and, just tried to do what I had to do.
So let me, so your dad was pretty active, with shipping out your videos and all of that. How active was your high school coach in your recruiting process?
Not much at all. I didn't really go to I didn't go to a baseball high school. I mean, my freshman year, I think we won about 4 games. My sophomore year, we were 6-16. We were more of a football high school and, a little bit of basketball, but not really a baseball high school. Our program wasn't very good. Our baseball coach was, he worked hard, as far as his baseball IQ might have been a little low, but I mean, he was a good man. He didn't know how to get into that realm of, recruiting and stuff like that. So, I was blessed enough to have a father that, saw something and he tried to do what he could to, get me off to school for cheap, maybe because he didn't want to pay for it. Right. So,
That's the main thing, yeah.
So, my parents were strict. So, I guess it was good. It wasn't good at the time growing up, but, I can see now why. And, I almost committed to go to West Point. I was looking to go to the Army. So
really,
that was my fifth school I was looking at. But, I was lucky enough to have my father, do that stuff for me. So, he was kind of my recruiter, I guess you would say.
No, that's what's up. So, we talk about this all the time about how involved parents need to be in the recruiting process. And, so for, you to say even back then, so basically you guys is on the grind hustling, and even Legion Ball coaches is different from even travel ball coaches now, where travel ball coaches are kind of plugged in. Legion Ball coaches, I know mine, it's just,
if you were getting it, like, unless you were, when I was in high school, unless you were just a big time star, like a big time star, you kind of had to do your own work. You had to go to showcases or, go get private instruction where they might know somebody. I need some base, I used to get lessons here and there, not a ton, but, my Legion Ball coach, nice guy, didn't do a ton of recruiting stuff. But then again too, this was 20 years ago. It's changed big time, so, it's one of those things where, if we were going to get somewhere, and get down to school and get me an education and play baseball, that was on us. That's something we had to do. We weren't going to let it come to us. We had to go get it.
So now you get into the pros, and I like the fact that you basically explain. And I know 20 years ago is a long time, but your miles per hour is only 82, 83. Some people get so caught up in the velocity. I'm gonna go back to that when we start talking about, the guys that you're teaching and up in the pros now. But so now, you're 82, 83, but did you get down into proper physical training down at JMU? And is it, just get growing? Where you're obviously the height was there, but your weight not necessarily, you're 160, you was a tall drink of water. So
yeah,
what type of jumps, what did you do to jump from 82 in high school because I remember, when it was years into your pro career, but you was 90 plus, you know what I'm saying? So
absolutely. I think it was just a combination of a couple things or a bunch of stuff. In high school, I was a 3-sport athlete. So I played football early, but then I played soccer in the fall. Then I went to play basketball in the winter, and then I played baseball in the spring. And then I would play like American Legion in the summer. I didn't really play a ton of baseball except for that spring, summertime. And so as far as development, I think it was good for my body and my muscles and my strength to have those 3 sports, which I'm a big proponent of now. I don't like a lot of sports specific stuff, especially in baseball where, overuse can cause injuries. But, I went to school, I'm a left-handed pitcher. Lefties I always heard were always late developers. I was, like I said, $160, 6'3". I never really had the proper weight training, nutrition. I never had the knowledge of, somebody sitting there, helping me with throwing programs and long toss and mechanical stuff. And, so I go to JMU and, you play more baseball, you play in the fall and then you have the winters off and then you get in the summer. Combine that with, a strength coach who had a plan for individual plan for each kid, nutrition. And I think part of that too was just me kind of developing and being more mature, getting stronger, and just letting my body develop. And, you had all those things together. And it wasn't overnight. My freshman year, I was telling this to the kids I spoke to at JMU. I just got back from my freshman year. I threw 9 innings and I had like an 8.5 ERA. I wasn't very good, just because I was trying to learn the college game, and every level you go to, it gets harder. You got to make an adjustment. So I had to make that adjustment. I had to learn the college game, but I also had to get better. And that included the lifting, the nutrition, long tossing and learning the game that way and getting better that way. And just playing more, not necessarily throwing more, but playing more, or being around the game or being on the field. There's other ways you can get better without a pitcher picking up a baseball and getting on the mound every single time. And that's stuff that I had to do and learn.
All right. So that's good information, man. So you like 3 sports, you like guys that play multiple sports. So now, you have your pro career, and you now you transition into, I'm just going to skip through the pro career, right? We're going to get into this teaching aspect of it, right? So, so now, what do you see now? You've been coaching 6 years. What do you see what do you see from when you entered the pro game? Because you just said you all have to make adjustments, and we all struggled that first year or two in the pro game. Maybe you didn't, I don't know, but it may be, what are you seeing now from those guys that transition from high school and college and get drafted into the Brave system? What I'm saying? What do you see the biggest, adjustments that you're needing to make as a coach? What I'm saying, with those young guys coming in?
Sure. For me, the mental side, I think is huge. And that can go along in many different lines. I mean, a lot of the kids we're getting now never learned how to they never struggled. So I've been in Rome, Georgia for 3 years. My first 2 years, I had 10 starters, 9 were first round picks, or, 8 or 9 were first round picks. I mean, the first year I had Mike Soroka, who made his debut last year, Colby Allard, Max Fried, Tukey Toussaint, who, had a great year last year. And then I had a college kid, Patrick Weigel, who was 22nd rounder, but he was, he knew how to pitch. He had some pitchability. He threw hard. He's a big guy. And then last year, I had Ian Anderson, was first rounder in New York, Joey Wentz, Kyle Muller, first rounder out of, down in Texas. So I Wentz, Wilson, and Bryce Wilson, who, was a second rounder maybe. And he made his debut last year. So, he went from Rome to the big league. So that's 9 guys that are basically first rounders. So those guys had to learn how to struggle. I mean, that's big, because in the pro game, whether you're a starter or reliever, do you know how to mentally struggle in front of those guys? I mean, they're so good. How many times did they struggle, right? How do they deal with the adversity? And that's the biggest thing. I mean, you got to learn, I don't care who you are, you got to learn how to deal with adversity. And, can you get back on the bump 5 days later and in front of, a couple thousand people, or at a higher you go up 20,000? I mean, we played in Sacramento where it'd be Friday, Saturday night, sold out. It'd be 10, 12, 13,000. Right? You were scared to go up there and pitch in front of that many people because you struggled last time. How's that help not only yourself and your career, but your team? So, just like, on the hitting side, I mean, you go over 4 one game, hitters go through slumps. You're going to struggle for a week. Do you just shut it down, or do you have to learn how to overcome that adversity? So I think that was big. Another thing that I found with some of these younger guys that I had, pitchability, pitch selection. They're not going to be able to rear back and blow 95 ain't going to get it done every single time anymore. Now they're facing the best kid at the ACC. They're facing the best kid in the SEC. And these kids are 21, 22 years old. You're getting a kid who played at, Clemson. Well, he's seen 95 from the right side from Vanderbilt. So you're 95. If you're just going to rear back and think you can get it without commanding it, or, throwing a wrinkle, or throwing off speed, or, showing something different, or commanding it, to them, that's nothing. So, and calling pitches too, because I'm on the pro side, I don't develop guys to be the best A-ball pitcher. I want to develop a guy to be a big league pitcher, So I'm going to talk to him like a big leaguer, as far as, hey, I'm not calling your pitches. That's the other thing. And I understand completely, because the game's different, but on the college and high school side, but I'm not going to call pitches for a kid, because how is that going to help them learn, how to use their stuff at what time? Also, thank you. Sorry, my wife is bringing me a drink here.
Nice.
They're not going to call pitches. Yeah, they're not going to call pitches for you in the big leagues. It's just not going to happen. You got to know who you are as a pitcher. What's working that day, what's not. In the bullpen and everywhere else. So, learning how to set guys up, all that's all the mental side. I mean, I know you can throw 95, 97 with a plus slider, and a pretty good little changeup. Well, how are you going to use it? How are you going to use it from hitter to hitter? How are you going to, make that adjustment from the bullpen to the game? Can you do it every 5 days? and do it every 5 days for 6-7 months, you know, and develop it, and not only start strong but finish strong. So, you know, there's a lot that goes on in that, and that's all mental stuff, man. So, you know, we know the physical talent's there, but physical talent isn't anything, you know, that doesn't get you anywhere. Especially, you know, this, to play a long time, you can have all the physical talent in the world. How many guys that we play with that you would see this guy and go, man, this guy has got tools, or this guy, he's unbelievable. And we've all seen it. I mean, even the people that didn't play pro and professional baseball, you see guys in high school, you're like, man, this guy's unbelievable.
Right.
But they don't make it. Why? It's because between the ears, man, that's the biggest thing, that's the biggest difference between people that could play for a long time and that don't, is between the ears for me.
That's awesome information, man. That is great. I love that part, man, because it is a grind, and it's you have to make adjustments totally. What works for one game, one pitcher, you know, one team, you know, best believe they're gonna come back and remember what you did. So now you got to switch it up, you know, especially at that pro level. Yeah. But let me come back. I love what you were talking about, calling games. So, you know, I got a lot of youngsters, you know, parents of youngsters on here, right? So think about, you know, when do you think a pitcher should start tinkering and start understanding on a lower level, understanding how to, you know, basically call their own game? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I do some lessons here and there, but I've never really coached, you know, at the, you know, my son's 6. That's my oldest child. I got 2 kids, and my son's 6. He's in t-ball. So, you know, I've never really coached little league or anything like that. You know, to answer that question the best I could, maybe when you feel like that kid has an understanding of, you know, not only what he throws, but, you know, how he throws it, and also, you know, understanding pitching and the game. I mean, it's going to take some time. And don't get me wrong, I understand the reason why pitchers are called. You know, I mean, people want to win the ball game, you know, and at the college level, that's how people keep their jobs. And those college coaches getting paid good money, which is great. And they need to win. So I understand all that. I completely do. But when we get the kids, it hurts their development, because now I've had kids who's been 3 years at a major Division I college who never called a single pitch.
Wow.
And then they become robots. Then, you know, so my biggest thing is all I would say to my advice is I have no problem. If people want to call pitches, that's fine. But then explain to the kids why you're calling a pitch at a certain time when they come off. Because if you don't talk to them and explain to them, hey, this is why I called this pitch, or this is what I saw and that's why I called it, you're basically just, you know, it's a robot, and the kid doesn't understand. And now he's going to be a step behind in pro ball, because now you're going to throw him in the mix and say, hey, go pitch it. And I'm not calling your pitches for you. If I call, and don't get me wrong, I might call 20 pitches a game, but I'm calling the pitch that you don't want to throw because you need to get better at that changeup, right? Or I'm calling that fastball in because you don't want to throw it. Well, you're going to have to learn to throw it in the big leagues. You're going to have to learn how to change up, you know, and that goes back to developing you to be a big league pitcher, not developing you to be a 2-pitch guy who, you know, is successful in rookie ball.
No, I love it, man. So, I know I put you out there a little bit. I felt like with me and the, you know, the youth teams now, I kind of, honestly, I do it more so, just my advice. I'm gonna answer my own question a little bit. I actually leave it to the catch. Like, if I trust the catcher more so than the pitcher, you know what I'm saying? At a, you know, the 13, 14, 15-year-old, you know, that's when I start letting, if I feel good with the catcher, you know what I'm saying?
And that's a great point, though, because and here's the other side of that. And you know, I'm thinking selfish because I'm a pitching coach. I'm thinking about pitchers. Well, how does that help the catcher develop game calling? You know, if you're not asking a catcher to watch the hitter swing the swing, or how does he, you know, because the catcher, best catchers in the world, they're 99% of, even the ones that can hit, the best catchers in the world are defensive catchers that know how to call game, that can block. And if these catchers don't know how to call game, or they don't understand how to call the game, you know, you only can get so high. You better swing it. You better swing it real good. And then at that point, you're going to end up being a DH, right? Because that's how it works. You can ask any pitcher in the world. I promise you one thing. You can ask any single pitcher in the big leagues. You had 2 catchers. One is not very good defensively, but can hit it, swing it. And the other one is a stud defensively behind the plate, game calling, and baseball IQ, and can throw people out. You're going to take the defensive catcher all day long, the pitching side, right? And how many catchers do you see in the big leagues our jobs are extended because they can catch and go throw. I mean, look at Jason Veritek's a great example. You know what I mean? Better example, Benji Molina, don't be wrong. He can swing it, but I mean, his game is behind the plate, right? And then you got the best of the best where Pudge can do both. He can do both. But how many catchers do you see stick around because they can do, now don't get me wrong, those catchers could hit in the minor leagues too, even the ones that didn't in the big leagues, but the defense keeps what you around and you're not you're doing the kid an injustice, the catcher, if you can't help them develop that part of the game. If you're going to develop the hitting side, why are you not going to develop the defensive and game calling sides? I mean, it just goes along, the same lines of, trying to make what's best for that kid. And there's two sides of the game and that needs to be done just as much as the hitting.
I agree with you, man. And yeah, like you said, I'm piggybacking what you said, because some of these big league guys, they hit under Mendoza line and stick in the big leagues for 20 years because they're known as a catching defensive guy. And they spend 20 years in the big leagues, never hitting over 220. You know what I'm saying?
We had a guy. So Eddie Perez still works with us in the Braves organization. He travels around and helps these young kids. Eddie Perez was Greg Maddox's personal catcher. That's just how it was. And Eddie Perez, he was Eddie Perez could swing it. I don't know his career. I'm going to say maybe career, guessing 230, maybe 250. Probably didn't have a ton of pop, but he could swing it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But he was Greg Maddox's guy because Greg Maddox knew he was going to catch and throw, and he was going to call a game. And that's what matters as far as the pitching side and I can promise you one thing as far as a team game, because baseball's a team game too. You're going to win a lot more ball games, and you're going to save a ton of runs, and you're going to save guys' careers if you can catch and throw and you call a game. That's what it comes down to. I mean, you're going to win more ball games if a kid has been developed to catch and throw and call a game.
That's hey, for my catching parents out there right there, that's a knowledge dropper right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, learn the defensive side over there. You could play a long time. All right. Especially if a guy like some of you parents away, whatever. But bottom line is, there's guys that have made great money and great careers because they develop a relationship with that particular pitcher who wants him, goes in him. I mean, look at David Ross, right? With John Lester, right?
Another great example.
That was his guy, right? And no matter where this guy went, Boston, Chicago, and all of that, he's like, yo, that's my guy. I need him with me, man. So anyway, I'm gonna go back. So, and parents, I'm gonna get to your questions. I see some coming in. You know the routine. Ask the questions, and I'm gonna get them over to Danny Meyer. He'll answer them.
And look at all the managers now in the big leagues, right? The majority of them. What are they? Yep. Former catchers that they could swing a little bit, but they were strategy guys. They knew about it because a good quality catcher is on a pro side is like a fourth coach. He sees the on-field stuff. He might come in and say, "Hey, man, breaking ball's getting a little looser," or this stuff's not as live, or they see stuff on the field, and we've had some unbelievable defensive catchers in Rome who not only help the starting pitchers, but once in a while they'll move a guy in the infield because they know they're going fastball in. They'll move the shortstop over, or hey, they'll move the third base over. And if we trust them to do it on the minor side, we'll let them do it because they know that hitter. They know how the hitter's going to react to that certain pitch, and they know where it's going to go. I mean, you play the game long enough, and you know this too. These kids sometimes I'll be like, watch this. He's probably going to fly out the right here. And they'd be like, how you know that? And he does it. Well, I played long enough and I watched long enough and I watched the hitter. I can pretty much tell you 70% of the time where he's probably going to hit the ball, right? I mean, that's just being around the game. But, that's something that just kind of comes in all together with it.
Now, I was talking about that the other day with some of these, we were talking about the difference makers on the field. And I was like learning those little things, like, how the kid is swinging I'm talking about from a defensive standpoint, not a catcher, but infielders and outfielders just observing the game. You know what I'm saying? Like just looking, seeing why the kid is late. He see how he's fouling off pitches, even though he has a big swing, but you could tell if he's jamming himself, and you could just play the game within the game and learn that type of stuff, man. So parents, I could talk to Danny Meyer all day. I'm gonna get back to my little questions, but if you have them, I'm gonna start. Danny Bazard, I'm gonna start reaching out to you, man, and ask these questions that's coming. Yeah. All right, let me get we got what's up, D-Ron, Rick Rock? Sorry, Lefty. It's great information. All right, I got George asks, My kid isn't a pitcher. He's a catcher. Question: how important is a pitcher-catcher relationship? You just talking about this.
I mean, extremely important. And and the guys that I know, I mean, the great ones, and it doesn't happen everywhere. They hang out together. We try and keep that relationship as close as possible. Whether it's when the pitchers aren't pitching, sit next to the catchers during the game, listen to them, because you won't pitch against that team the next night. He might, and our catchers might say, hey, this guy's been pulling the ball. Well, I want you watching that. And that's a form of, I guess scouting, but because I can't do all that. We talk about hitters before the game, and there's a lot goes on the pro side for preparation. But, if that relationship's good and I'm a starting pitcher or I'm a reliever, maybe, and I trust that catcher, I'm going to trust what he throws down. And I would much rather you throw the wrong pitch with conviction because you trust it than the right pitch,
At the wrong time.
The right pitch, but you don't trust it, so you let up on it. Now we got to hang and break a ball. Or, if you don't do anything with conviction, then you're not really doing yourself a justice. So that relationship's huge. If you trust that catcher and that catcher trusts you, it can only be good stuff out of that.
Good information. All right. Mark in Maryland asks, most youth coaches demand that a pitcher typically focus on fastball and vary the location. If you have a kid that has more than 2 or 3 pitches, he's likely a rare talent or extremely high level player, right?
I mean, sure. I mean, anytime you can develop pitches and different pitches, I think that's good for the kid. Depending on the age, I'd be careful with, breaking balls and stuff like that. I don't like a ton of that, at too early of an age. I mean, the kids are still developing. Their muscles are still far from where they need to be. So, the problem with that is if you have a kid with a pretty good breaking ball, which, I had friends of mine growing up that had good breaking balls, where's the line of stop using it to overusing it because you want to get people out or you want to win that game. And now those guys that had those great breaking balls, they got hurt as kids, and they're having Tommy Johns at 15 and 16 because, it just makes sense. The younger hitters are going to struggle hitting the breaking ball, but that doesn't necessarily mean we throw 37 breaking balls in one inning. The biggest thing that we teach, and it's even now on the pro side with these younger guys that have it, even these first riders that throw hard, command is what's going to get it, and that's as far as mechanics and everything else, everything works off your fastball command. So we try and teach that fastball command because there's going to be times in the big leagues you're going to have to throw a fastball to a spot and the hitters know it's coming a fastball and you got to hit your spot. And that's how the game is because everything comes off of that. Now, I'm not saying I want you to throw 37 fastballs in a row. You got to mix it up, obviously. But if you can throw a quality fastball commanded, then it makes your breaking ball that much better, not only mechanically, but pitch selection. If somebody, like for you, Dave, your big left-handed hitter with some pop, I know you're going to try and pull the ball. You have power at all fields, but I got to come in on you once in a while to open up that outer half on off speed. If I can't command that ball inside, that's not doing anything else for my, if I'm leaving stuff out over the middle, one, you might hit it to dead center, right? Or you might hit it out. If I don't get it in there and get you off the plate a little bit, that's not going to help my breaking ball away get effective. So you got to have that command. And if I'm 2-0 to you, I'm going to try and throw a quality fastball down and away. And I'm going to say, hey, hit it to left field, hit to left center. I'll take those chances. So, that's those things where you want to develop those kids. I don't want you to overdevelop the off speed. But I understand, develop it to a point where they're quality. But, command and mechanics and, just trying to get better on that side. I know velocity is a big thing now with the younger kids, which I understand because to get in the college or the pros at that age in high school and stuff like that, velocity is important. It absolutely is. Right. But then once you get to the pros, velocity is about the third or fourth thing that we care about, velocity alone is not going to get you to the big leagues. I mean, I played with guys that were 95, 96, 97, but it was straight and they couldn't command it. And it was a track meet out there, right? Guys were just running the bases. I mean, so it's one of those things where, that's our job now is tying that all in together. And, it's one of those things where you got to understand baseball is a total package of a game. It's not just, one thing or the other.
If I was a youngster and I had a 4-seam and a 2-seam,
yep,
which one would you force me to command let's just say they're equal in pitches. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. They're both equally effective.
Both. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So which one would you want me to command right away? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm running to these 13 and 15-year-old kids. They know what they got, but the command ain't necessarily there. But I want to hear from you. What would you tell them to do?
I mean, for me personally, and I can probably say this for majority of pitching coaches in every level of pro ball, learn to command your four seam first. I think that's the biggest thing. Mm-hmm. Like I said, not only does mechanics and stuff, a lot of come off of that, but a two seam commanded, I mean, that's, you're talking about plus command for a guy to be able to, when I say dot, like really locate a two seam, a two seam fastball, that's more of an early in the count. I want contact. I want weak contact. If I can throw a quality two seam 1-1 down in the zone with a little bit of run, and instead of you hitting the ball to, in the gap, you pop up or you hit a ground ball to second, that might save me 4 or 5 pitches, right? It's pretty tough for a kid that's 15 to be able to throw that two seam on the black. I want you to throw that two seam outer third or throw that two seam inner third. I want contact. And if it's a good two seam, I'm going to take my chances because baseball, no matter you're coaching, whatever you're doing, baseball is a numbers game. You play in chances, probability, right? I mean, you talk about on the scouting side, guy swings and misses at 70% first pitch breaking balls, or guy pulls the ball 78% of the time. Well, if I throw a quality two seam down and a guy hits a ground ball, he's going to be out. 88% of the time? I'm making these numbers up, but I'm going to take those chances. If you gamble and I said, you got an 80% chance to win this money, you're going to take that bet.
Right.
We'll do the same thing. Now, there's days you might give up 4 hits in a row, but there's days you might get 4 outs on 8 pitches.
Right.
I'll take them days, and those days are going to happen more than the other one. So, the two seam, if you command it, great, absolutely. But I want more control than command with a two seam. If you have control, which I mean you're in the zone and it's down in the zone, and you can run it inside a little bit, great. Command is when you're hitting a glove on the black, or when you're pitching. Sometimes command is not necessarily on a strike. I might want a fastball 3 inches outside off the plate, or 3 inches in off the plate. That's command to me. Control is, in the zone, pretty good. Command for strikes where you want, for balls and strikes.
I like that. So I never really looked at it like that. So you got command and you got control. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't ever look at it, maybe because I ain't a pitching guy, but you said when it comes to the four seam, you want command.
Yeah.
Right. And with the two seam, you want control, meaning like you can miss a little bit with the two seam.
You get away with more. You get away with it more, but that's what you want. You want weak contact. That's what the two seams for, is weak contact. And that's why you see guys like John Lester, similar, but it's a cutter, right? That's why John Lester, when he's on, he'll go 9 innings and throw 98 or 100 pitches in the big leagues, which is unbelievably hard to do because he gets weak ground balls. He gets weak pop-ups, or he gets jam shots. That's his game. Or, give me a quality two-seam guy. You're looking at, like Greg Maddox, an unbelievable two-seam. You had these guys that, they have quality two-seams, and they're getting weak contact early 3-4 pitch outs. Those are the guys at the biggest level. Those are the guys that can get paid $10, $15, $20 million. Yeah, they throw hard, but look at the action. They're going to pay that guy that much money because he can go 7, 8 innings. They're not going to pay that kind of money for 5 innings and 110 pitches.
Right.
So,
right.
They want 200 innings. Well, I think Justin Verlander gets 200 innings. He's making all that. The best pitchers in the game are those guys that can go out there and can command and control the ball and put it where they want. And that all starts from when they were in early age. I learned a four-seam command.
Great information, man. What's up, Miss Sheree out in Cali? Lance, what's going on? All right. Dash, what's going on? Baby Floyd in the house. Greg, what's going on? Mississippi. Andy, what's going on? I think I said it. Jeremy, what's going on, baby? B Webb wants to ask, please explain the front leg action during the back leg drive.
Okay. I'm not too sure exactly what he's looking for, but when you get to your load and your legs up, we like, me personally, as you drive at a plate, I still want you, I try and keep your head on the backside as long as you can, right? And that front leg should come up, and you want it come up and straight down and out as close as possible. If you get it more to swinging action, which guys do, And that's okay. That might work for what works for him, might not work for the other guy, but everybody's different. But the less swinging you can do, because if that front leg swings open, that's going to help your top half swing open. And if your top half swings open, you're going to break down mechanically, right? As a hitter, you want to pretty much step, I'm assuming, from what I've heard, you don't want to be, stepping in the bucket, right, D? I mean, you step in the bucket, I'm going to wear you out down and away.
Yeah.
You're going to have to, there's no way you're going to get to that pitch, especially that change speed. Same way with a pitcher. You swing open, you're only going to be able to control one half of the plate. It's going to be hard to control, arm side anytime you're swinging open. So if you can stay on your back side and drive straight to the plate, that's the most efficient. And it's, direct point from A to B is a straight line. So, that's the best way to teach it, because then you stay closed and mechanically you stay sound with that.
Awesome. All right. Tony asks, did you guys ever face each other? D Brown versus Danny Meyer. All right.
That's a great question.
We had to have faced each other.
You can look that up. You can look that up on like baseball perspectives. If we did, I'm sure you got out, so I ain't worried about it too.
I probably had about at least 2 bombs against you. I probably didn't have the bombs because I would remember, but I know I probably laced you a couple times. You know what I'm saying? Throwing that little curveball shit down in the way, or I'm taking you up. But anyway, yeah, good question, Tony. I don't know. That's a good question, man.
Yeah, I remember it. I'll tell you what, I still remember guys that I faced 15 years ago. I don't remember facing you, but right. We did. It might have been once or twice, one or two.
Right, not too much. You're right. Yeah, I usually remember most guys too, and I don't remember. Yeah, so and I got a good memory too. But that's a good question, Tony. I can't remember though. Bubba asks, my kid is a 3/4. My kid is a 3/4 thrower. I guess a little lower arm slot. Throws with a lot of movement. Would you ever have him work on coming over the top, or just do what naturally comes to him?
Naturally comes to him. That's what you're going to get the best out of, in my opinion. I mean, why change? If that's what he naturally does and he has success, there's no stud. There's nothing that says that he can't throw, high 3/4 or over the top. That's who he is naturally. To me, I don't change that. I take what he does naturally and I form my coaching into that. If I change his arm slot, and I don't know how, as a Tony said, I don't know how old Tony's son is, but if I change his arm slot, I don't want to, now we're starting talking about, injuries. I mean, I keep what's natural and I go with it. Guy has an arm slide like that, he might be more inclined to a slider type stuff, than maybe the overhand breaking ball. It depends what his arm angle's at. But, you have that 3/4, you're going to get some run, you get some movement. You might actually have some natural 2-seam. It might run and it might be a 4-seam. All that stuff, there's nothing wrong with that stuff. I go back to what I said, once you get to the big leagues, and we used to talk about this so when I was in the bullpen with the Marlins, my bullpen coach was Steve Foster, who's now the pitching coach in the big leagues for the Kansas City Royals. And we used to say, okay, so when you're in high school, what's important? Velocity is the number one, right? Velocity, and then probably, command, and then, or, velocity, movement, command, because you can get away with it more. If you get to the big leagues or in pro ball, it's probably command, movement, right? Off speed might be in there, and then velocity, right? I mean, do you know better, or deceptiveness? You've stepped in the plate, and you can ask any hitter. You got guys on 96, but the way you see it, you might say, man, this dude looks 89. Like, you just pick it up early. Yeah. Whereas guys, when you're hitting, they're throwing 90, and it looks like it's either 98 or it's a fog ball. Like, you can't see it, or you pick it up late. Next, it jumps on you. Mm-hmm. All that stuff is just natural. So. Take what's natural for the kid, and water that plant. Is what I would say. Let that grow.
That's great information, man. And I piggyback. I say this all the time. So when you said it earlier about the guys that was throwing hard and the track meet out there, I talk about this all the time as hitters, and I didn't want to basically keep talking about the same things. But for the guys that don't listen, and especially young hitters, they get so caught up on, oh man, this guy throws hard. The guy throws so hard. But I tell my young hitters, I said, listen, the older you get, you're going to want him to throw hard, because as long as it's straight, you know what I'm saying? It's good hitting, because they get turned around. But it's the ones that got a little deceptiveness, that got a little movement or something, them the ones that just frustrate the mess out of you. Do you remember David Risky? You remember David Risky?
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
I promise you, like in the about, I need to bring him on. Talking about my nemesis, from A-ball all the way up to the big league, the dude never topped out above 92 miles an hour, but he had this little flingy short arm action out of this angle here, and it would just pop right at that bell high right here.
Yeah.
And I mean, I knew it was coming. I couldn't catch up. He would throw, and I think want to say he got at least 10 in. You know what I'm saying? Never topping above 92 as a reliever.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't get me wrong. Velocity is good. I mean, that's where the game's going, and I'm not against that by any means. But the good thing about velocity is you can get away with more mistakes the harder you throw. But the problem is the higher you go up and you get to the big leagues, if you can't command it, one, you're either going to be a reliever because nobody's going to, because the second time through the order, guys aren't going to want, guys are going to be on you because I know what you got. And if by physics, the harder you throw, the straighter your ball is going to be. If it's straight, you can throw 100. I've seen guys turn on it, if they've seen it 2 or 3 times. Now some people say, oh, well, you see these guys like Charlie Morton, or you see these guys like, these guys, they throw 96 with nasty movement. That's God-given. I mean, you can't look at a guy like that and say 96 with plus movement. Well, that's from the man upstairs. I mean, those are the exceptions. Those guys that see that ball move, that's the exception. I would listen. I love my son's 6. I would love that too. But now you're talking about a special talent where that's not going to happen too much. So, if you're going to do it the right way, velocity will come if you do the right things. But command, if you don't get it early, it's tough to teach that later in the life. So,
that's good information there, man. So, B-Web, what age should a kid start throwing a two-seamer or cutter and breaking ball?
For me, I don't think there's any certain age. If the two seam's thrown correctly, there's nothing wrong with throwing it whenever, you're comfortable with it. I'd be careful with the cutter just because, a little more advanced. I'd be nervous for a younger kid trying to, cutter, you got to stay on the side of the ball, but throw it like a fastball. Some of these younger kids might try and manipulate the movement. Now we turn it into a slider. Now, if you got an 11-year-old trying to throw all these cutters and he's just turning a slider, that could involve some forearms, some elbow issues, and the breaking ball. When I was growing up, now it's a little different. Like I said, I hadn't coached on the little league side or the kids that age. I always thought 14, 15, 16 years old where you really start getting into breaking balls. I mean, there's certain safe ways to teach it. I'm just afraid that if I have a kid that's 13 throwing a breaking ball, can I trust him enough to understand that you got to use it, at the right time? I mean, that's my problem with those kids is they want to win that ball game now. And if that means throwing 40 breaking balls, I want to win that game. Well, that's not the answer for the long run. You know what I mean? I mean, I went, and I'll just tell this quick story. So I had some shoulder issues at the end of my career that was actually just from playing football. I had cracked it and it finally gave out 15 years later when I was a kid. So it was just kind of a freak injury, and I had arthritis. So I went and saw James Andrews, who's the guy as far as Tommy John's. I mean, he's, the Redskins doctor. He handles all baseball. I mean, the guy
he did my shoulder.
Yeah, he's the guy as far as baseball surgeries. And I went in there and I'm meeting with him, and he comes in and he said, Dan, I knew him a little bit. So he said, Danny, he said, I just don't know what to do. I said, what do you say? And he said, I got a kid in there. He's 14 years old and he's Tommy John. I mean, this guy's been around forever. And that surprised him. And I said, man, and like that hit me like, these kids, like they do what is the immediate result for that W or for that win or for what's best for the team, which I do understand. Don't get me wrong, because I was that way. But now as a father and somebody now, it's hindsight's 2020. Can you trust that 12-year-old if you teach him a breaking ball to not, because you can't watch him all the time. He's gonna be outside throwing with his kids. Or with his friends. Excuse me. You're gonna trust him out there to throwing 25 breaking balls. And I mean, I'm in Connecticut. It's 32 degrees. You're gonna let him outside throwing 30 breaking balls. 30. I mean, you just gotta be careful with how they use it. So, if you have a kid early like that teaching a breaking ball in a game, I would limit it. Now, if that's good as you calling pitches, great. But I would say, hey, maybe throw. You got 15 breaking balls, you got 15 sliders, or whatever it may be. I think the number is more important than as long as it's not too early of an age.
All right. Quick question about playing showcase. Andy, I'm gonna answer your question. I'm sorry. You got a showcase question, man. I'll answer your question, Andy, at the end. All right. I want to get the pitching things, man. All right. If a young kid has a good accuracy with the fastball, what pitch would be a good second pitch to teach them?
I mean, two seam's always good. Change up. I'm a big fan of the change up. I mean, from all the hitters that I've talked to and some of the best hitters that I've been around and Hall of Fame hitters, they've told me is the hardest pitch to hit in the big leagues is a quality changeup, because you can see the best hitters in the game. Like, do you notice? You can see spin out the hand. You can see that spin. So if you see that little dot or you see that spin for a breaking ball, you can see it. Now, if it's a plus breaking ball, it's still gonna be hard to hit. But if you see fastball spin, but it's 10 mile an hour less, that's always good. And depending on the age for a kid, if you can teach a kid a quality changeup, and he ends up getting, because I had a really good changeup coming up, and they will never lose that. And that's something that would only get better as they go up, because the higher you go, and in college and in the pros, a real quality changeup with fastball spin is going to be way better beneficial than, that breaking ball.
All right. Mark says, Jason, I know this was for Coach D. We recently told that the two-seam fastball and the slider were good second and third pitches to master. Recently did a baseball effective clinic, Division III coaches. All right, the Division III coaches are telling them that a secondary pitch was to master was a slider and a two-seam fastball.
I mean, that's possible. The big thing about baseball is and here's my issue, and they could be 100% right for certain guys. Baseball's not cookie cutter. What works for, like I said, for everybody's different. That's the good thing about this game. Depending on arm angle, I mean, I personally can't say, I can't make that blanket statement, because I will agree with the two seam, but the slider, I mean, what if a guy's arm is more over the top? You can't throw a slider. That's more of a curveball action. Some guys don't get the feel for a slider. So for me to blanket say slider is the best one to teach for everybody, I can't do that. Some guys can't throw a slider. They just can't they just can't do it, whether it be, or some guys try and throw a slider and ends up being a slurve or a curveball, and that's just who they are. So, it all depends on what kid you got to know. Everybody's individualized. Everybody's different. And you got to know the kid. You got to know his arm action, his arm angle. You got to know some history. Very possible. But, the thing I would stay away from as far as anybody trying to make just blanket statements of baseball, you got to be careful. I mean, there's a very few that are actually true. I mean, on the hitting side, everything's different too. I mean, I used to sit around with our hitting coach was Bobby Moore last year in Rome. He's been around for a long time. And him and I used to talk, and I'd say, he'd be like, yeah, man, you kind of know you're hitting. That's because I watch hitters, because I'm trying to get them out. So I got to know hitting a little bit too, because I got to know how to get them out. So I got to see the flaws. So it kind of works backwards. So there's no blanket statements in baseball. It's just tough to make that statement and run with it and be successful. So
I like what you just said, man. Obviously we got a lot more parents than players on here, but I would always that's what I'm saying. Like, I always didn't understand why catchers and stuff would call certain things. I'm like, how to hit, man, or what, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, gosh, you know what I'm saying? Why would you call that then? I'll be, MFing them in the outfield. I'd be like,
because they probably didn't call a game in high school or college and they didn't know.
Yeah, that's true. All right.
That was a rewind right there for you.
Yeah, that was. All right. So Mark says, when you say the right things, can you comment on the role training nutrition plays for a young pitcher?
Huge. And I say that now because when I was coming up 15 years ago in the minor leagues, that was not an issue. I mean, if you wanted nutrition or you wanted pregame or postgame nutrition, that was on you. So we had Subway. Remember, we split sub before and ever. They didn't take nutrition or the strength. They liked it, but they didn't really take an active role on the pro side. I can tell you now, pretty much every single team is very active on nutrition, is pre and post game. I mean, the Braves actually handle the nutrition before the game. They're gonna get a good meal of chicken and protein and stuff like that. And then there's a post game meal for recovery stuff, your carbs and stuff like that, your vegetables. Anybody who has kids knows if you're going to leave a kid up, if you're going to let your kid make his own dinner, it's going to be cheese fries and monster. I mean, you can't trust a kid for nutrition. It's the same way with some of these younger guys. You get these kids, they're going to go to McDonald's every night if you don't handle the nutrition. And, if you're not feeding the machine right, you're not putting the right gas in the car, you're not going to get the best out of it. So, between that and the strength and the training, I think all that stuff's huge when done correctly.
No, that's good information. I heard some of these the young low A and A ball teams. D. Lewis to tell me, he's like, man, D, they don't get no incentive for these dudes to get out of A ball, man. They got everything laid out for them, man.
It's unbelievable. I mean, what they do now compared to what they did when we were coming up,
right?
They're doing everything for you. That, like, you have no worry. It's go out and play the game because we're taking care of everything. All you got to worry about is go out there and playing.
How do you teach kids to relax and increase arm whip?
When you talk about arm tip, you're talking about more me arm speed. Some of that is natural. Long toss. I'm talking, strength stuff. You're talking about some bands work. There's different things you can do on that training side to increase, like arm speed or arm whip. As far as staying relaxed, like we talked about that, staying in between the ears. What can you, know who the kid you're talking to, find out a way to get him to relax, whether it be some type of, mental, key, or whether it be maybe a joke. I mean, there's times where I've gone out for a mound visit and not even talk baseball. Like, hey, just, hey, what do you think? What do you think we got to eat tonight? Like, get him to calm down, because anytime you do something relaxed, you're going to do it way better than when you're all tight and muscular. I mean, that's just natural. It's just how it's going to be. Try and do anything where you're nervous and tight. It's tough. Now, know the kid, know who you're talking to, know what you can say or do to get to them and help them relax. And at that point, they should be able to get it. And if you're not, you keep telling them. I mean, how many times you got to tell a kid? One more time, right? I mean, that's the answer. One more time. Try and do the best you can to help that kid relax, whether it be anything. And I'm open to all stuff. I mean, I'm still learning on that. I'll sit here and tell you that I'm learning on every aspect. I don't know everything, but I'll take any advice from anybody, his friend, his mom. Hey, this is what I'm taking all advice, because ultimately that's what's best for the kid.
Awesome. So I love that part. You said you have the experience, your major league and all of that, but you humble enough to say, listen, we still learning. You know what I'm saying? I'm still learning. You know what I'm saying? Here's a future big league pitching coach saying, like, listen, he's still learning stuff, especially about his guys. This
game's changing. If you're not changing with it, then you're not doing yourself a justice, or the kid a justice.
T. Sut asks, is there anything specific you guys are doing currently to help prevent Tommy John? I went through it. He said he went through it himself. He's just curious, have there been any new developments from a prevention standpoint that you guys are doing?
I do know that, we've, the training has really been developed since, 10, 15 years ago. The arm care, there's a lot of arm care now. After these kids pitch on the pro side, we do a lot of arm care. After their bullpens, when they practice, or after the game, they're doing arm care. The conditioning on that side, the weight training stuff has really been developed to try to limit that. And on my side, I'm looking at pitch counts. I'm looking at, pitch usage. If, like I said, and I talk about these 13-year-old kids throwing 50 breaking balls. I had a kid who had an unbelievable slider. And 2 years ago, we were in Augusta, Georgia, and he threw 3 innings. He threw 31 sliders in like 2 or 3 innings. He came in off the mound because that was his go-to pitch to get out of trouble. I said, guess what, man? You ain't throwing no more sliders today. That's it. You're done. Because I don't want you getting hurt. That doesn't help you. It doesn't help, and also I want to force you to use other pitches, because that's development. I need you to get you, I want you to complete package. So I will, during the game, I keep my own chart of what they're throwing. So to make sure they're not throwing 50 breaking balls, and, hey, go in, do your arm care, and, limit your throws. You can't, baseball is the one game where, especially pitching, you have an X amount of time to work on your craft. You can't just play catch all day long. It's not like, hitting, you can take a lot of swings. You can swing. I mean, you can't do that with pitching. You can't do that with throwing. So you got to you got to use your time the best way you can. And, that includes, not throwing 37,000 breaking balls. It's just, you can't do that. That's just not the best way to do it. And that's how kids get hurt.
So you basically, I like what you just said. You know what I'm saying? You can't, hitters, we can swing all day if we want to, but I still think that's counterproductive too. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But especially you guys, your window is extremely small when it comes to the pitching side as far as like just, workload in any particular day. So I like when you said, honestly, so you should have some type of game plan with, all right, you only can throw XYZ pitches, even for youngsters. that's why I like having you guys on, because I get little nuggets and stuff, you know what I'm saying? And
you're always learning.
It's kind of common sense, but on the other hand, is when you hear it being said, it's kind of like in my mind, I'm like, I start thinking of my pictures and stuff, and because they throw it, try to find it, they warm up and they warm up again.
I mean, that's funny you say that. Like, if you got X amount, man, you should have a routine. You should throw, and a routine. It might take you 5 years to figure out what's best for you, and it always is changing. But if you're in the bullpen warming up, some of the best games I ever pitched, I was terrible in the bullpen. I don't stay down there and throw 40 more until I find it, because now I'm using them pitches that I was using in a game. And the more tired, the more fatigued you get, the more chance of injury. So if you don't have that pitch in a bullpen, or you don't have that pitch in a game, unfortunately, that's baseball. You're not going to have stuff. But do you have the other stuff to combat it? Do you have a good two-seam that you can throw? Or, do you got that changeup? Because if you don't have that breaking ball in the pen, that doesn't mean we're going to go out and throw 72 more breaking balls to warm up. I mean, you can't do it. You just don't have that time, and that doesn't help anybody.
All right. So Chipper asks, is the conditioning different for your starters and then your relievers or closers?
Yeah. The conditioning's changed. I mean, like we talked about, this game's ever changing. And so is, that's why I'm always learning. We were coming up, we ran more distance. The starters do have some more distance stuff, but it's more explosive. They do have to do some type of flush stuff. It's not the same that we did. The starters or the relievers. Starters, you can kind of push their legs a little bit. Relievers pitching that night, you might not. You don't want to wear that kid down. It might be more sprint work, or once in a while we'll throw in some 60s, or maybe four poles or something like that. You want to push them and get their legs going. But if you're going to do any type of real full conditioning, it's going to be after the game. Bike work or something like that, because you push a reliever, and if a reliever does the starter's work, his legs are gassed. Now he's not going to be the most effective that night. So you got to be careful with, pushing that kid on the starter schedule, because a starter, and all you guys in pro ball, D used to hate it, man. I would play catch, I'd run, and I was done for the day, because that's what's it.
You had the best life. Starters have the best life. That's why you guys are the best starters.
Yeah. But I mean, that's because I was done, but I didn't have to pitch that night. So I could push myself. Mm-hmm. You don't have the chance to do that for a reliever. Now, if a reliever's down that day, all right, we're going to get a little more running in, but let's get explosive stuff, because that's what pitching is it's 10 seconds of explosive work, right? So let's work on that, and let's work on, the explosive pushes for, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, or, shuttles, stuff like that. Let's keep it moving and go from there.
All right, B-Web asks, what are your thoughts on weighted baseballs?
Weighted baseballs, they have that, I know there's a lot of driveline stuff that do those weighted balls and stuff. I'm okay with that, as long as you have the proper teaching with it. You got to know people that are doing their stuff. Weighted baseballs, I don't want you throwing a baseball that's heavier than a normal baseball, because you do it at 60 feet. I mean, you got to be careful. To me, that's going to cause more injuries than it is going to be development. Now, does it say it's going to work for – it might work for one kid. You might know one kid it worked for. Well, you might not know about the other 99 it didn't work for, and they had injuries. So the weighted baseball, you got to be real careful with.
All right, good information. What up, Daedric? What's going on, baby? All right, how can you get a consistent release point?
Man, consistent release point, a lot of towel drill stuff. Just repetition with the towel drill. Sometimes we'll do some flat ground stuff with the catcher up front, trying to be under control. If you're trying to overthrow and max effort and everything, you're not gonna be able to feel your release point. Baseball's a lot of repetition. The higher you get up, you know your swing there at anybody, right? But that took time. That takes, effort. If you're going to find a consistent release point, it goes back to your four-seam fastball. If you can do it with your four-seam fastball and command it, there's your release point, right? And as a parent, if you're going to watch that and when your kid's pitching good and he's really got that fastball going, right, and he's got the good one, he commands it, there's your release point. Now everything works off of that. Now if a kid's dropping his arm or his release point's different on a breaking ball, Now I know that's different. So what do we got to do? Go back to the 4-seam fastball. There's your release point. And that just takes practice, repetition, towel drills, stuff like that to consistently ingrain that repetitive release point for the kid. And that takes time.
Good, man. Good information. So Chipper asks, are you a fan of the King of the Hill? And do you use it at the big league level?
At the big league level, I don't know if the Braves use it. I'm sure there are some teams that do. I do know the guy that made it, Rich. I think I think it helps with, kids if they have issues using their lower half or pushing off. I think it's a great thing because pitching is the lower half. And if that's something that helps that kid get better, I'm never going to be against anything to help somebody get better, especially the right way. And I think the King of the Hill, I've never personally used it here or when I was coming up. I know people that have, and I think it does a good job teaching what you need to teach, which is to use your lower half, which is always good. I'll never be against that.
All right. So, all right, cool. All right, B-Web, you're welcome, man. So listen, all right, this is probably my longest one. The figures, you always,
I might get divorced over this, but it's okay. My wife upstairs.
Hey, listen, tell her sometimes you got to come back to, your day one. You're cheating on, with your old friend over here. You know what I'm saying?
She won't be mad after you send that check, though. I'll be all right.
Yeah, that's all right. I send a check. You know what I'm saying? The McDonald's gift certificate is, since you said you guys, you can eat right with them. Okay.
I got
it. Yeah.
I'm kidding, man. He ain't paying me for this. This is not
no doubt. They know, man. They know I'm bringing on my boys over here, and that's why we get to, crack jokes. And it's good to see my boy over here. I ain't seen him at least face wise since.
You wouldn't even back in the day. You wouldn't even buy me a meal. I didn't expect you to pay me for this.
Listen, well, you was big time. You was first rounder. So if anything, I'm 6-7 years first round to your thing. So you still had good money in your pockets then. You know what I'm saying?
Here we go.
Yeah, big time over here. So anyway, as you can see, this guy Danny Meyer over here, right? This when I say this is all day, every day, you know what I'm saying? You had to come with it. You had to be witty. You had to be ready for this guy because I'm talking about just keep you on your toes. That's what this guy was. But then also you could see the dude was an incredible pitcher, played a long time, great competitor. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's that Northeast thing, even though it's South Jersey, I don't even claim. But anyway, it's still a Northeast thing. You know what I'm saying? They claim some good players every now and then, right? So, it's been a pleasure. Let me see if we got one more.
Yeah, it's all good.
We got one more question that came in. Tony asks, it's the last one we're going to have, guys. Do you think the NL should use the DH hitters since pitchers don't prioritize hitting much? It almost seems like they're for sure. That's such a great question because I think I used to see
you could talk about that forever. Me personally, man, I'll tell you what, there's two sides of that. And, the one side is I think the American League has the advantage in the World Series because, they set their team up for the year with the DH involved, whether it goes salary. I mean, their team is set to have a DH, right? Even if you had a good hitting pitcher, they still were not as good as the DH. So in the World Series, now you could say on the other side, if you have a good hitting pitcher, he's going to be better than, the other team, the American League's hitting pitcher. But when it's all said and done, if you're relying on your starting pitcher to get a big hit in the World Series, we got problems, right? So I do think as far as it being fair for everybody, I think they should do the same. But also, if you're a baseball purist, that takes out the strategy of managing. And now you're talking about changing the game a little bit. I mean, all that stuff comes into play because if you can overmanage and stuff like that, you can cause your team some losses. So there's a lot that goes on. That's a great question. And that's a debate that, they might be going towards more of a DH, I heard, in a couple of years all around.
They need to.
But, hey, that answer is for way above my pay grade. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to work on some little stuff and get them kids there. And if they want to hit to that point, that's fine, but not on my watch.
All right, cool. All right, Danny Meyer. So I had Andy Powell. I'll answer this question about Showcase. Andy, I read your question. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but your team. If there are certain tournaments that are 15U showcases, if it's a high-level showcase, Andy Powell, I would not play 14-year-olds in that. But if it's you know, you got to understand the type of showcases that may be in your area. If it's, you know what a high level showcase is, and you should know. But if it's not, it ain't nothing. You know, even your kids get roughed up a little bit. It's good for the, you know, the experience. So if they get a little time as a 14-year-old playing against a good 15-year-old team, yeah, the parents ain't gonna like it if you keep getting your head bashed in. But if you go out there and compete a couple times here and there, you know, you may learn something about your 14-year-old team. So I hope you're still on. I told you I'll answer that at the end, but if it's a high level showcase, like you go on a perfect game in Atlanta or something like that, it's a high level 15U. Don't go down there with a 14-year-old halfway decent team because you might get embarrassed. But if it's a local type of showcase around your way, go ahead, put your team up there. All right, I'll deal with it too on the same issue. All right. Keep the pitchers batting, make a change. All right, you know that's right, Bill. All right. So Mark said he, you know, thanks coaches. He said learned a lot. I obviously learned from you, you know, because I ain't, you know, he's just being, you know, cordial for me. I'm not the pitching guy. So George says thanks, and Bill says make the managers. He likes to keep the game pure the way it is.
Everybody's different. I mean, there's so many different sides of the argument. It's a tough argument. It's a tough answer. I mean, it all depends on who you talk to, but there's good arguments on both sides of that.
Yep. So Danny Meyer, if you could, for the hour and plus minute that we've been on, all right, can you wrap this up in a bow? Give my parents something to, you know, take home with them as we close on this, and you know, so you won't, sure, you know, your wife won't totally leave you. You know what I'm saying? Get the dinner on the table.
She probably likes that while I'm going.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah. You know, the biggest thing I can stress that you know, like I said, I haven't done a ton of the younger. You know, I've always had 18 or older. You know, sometimes I had some 17-year-old lad kids, but you know, it is, and this is true on our side. I try and help these kids because it's a long season until you really understand the higher levels, how to do it. But you got to have fun, man. I got to keep these kids having fun, enjoying it, even at 18, 19, 20 years old, because the moment they stop having fun, that's the moment they're going to be less receptive to coaching. That's going to be the moment they don't want to do it as much. And then once you start going down that road, we got to be careful, because then you're not only going to get the best out of them, you're not going to get the best out of the team for the team. And, you know, at that point, you might have lost a kid. And the last thing you want to do is do that. Now, that's not saying you don't push them. That's not saying you don't be honest with them, brutally honest sometimes, you know, and if that involves, you know, I hope you're not yelling at the kids too much, but sometimes that might work better on a kid than another kid. Some kid you might have to be a little, you know, cordial with or softer with, but, you know, once in a while, just have fun with them. You know, let them know that it's okay to make mistakes. Baseball's a game for, you know, that's a game of mistakes. It's a game of, you know, you're going to mess up and you're going to fail, right? But if you can keep them having fun, the failure's not going to be as mad, and they're going to learn from that failure, but they're not going to dwell on it. And I think that's the biggest thing, because you're going to learn more from failure than you are success. And we all know, D, the higher level you go, you're going to fail. There's not a single guy I know that's never been everything right. I mean, even Chipper struggled, or even Frank Thomas struggled, or Mike Piazza. I mean, these guys, I mean, they all struggled at some point. They were the guys that to be able to get them, you know, get themselves off the ground, wipe themselves off and say, let's go, because they were having fun doing it, right? And they knew how to respond. And that's the biggest thing.
Hey, we got to end on that, man. That was beautiful, man. Mark says, good one today, D. Thank you, Coach Meyer, he says, and from Indiana. And pretty much everybody, you know, Ron from Maryland says the same thing, man. So, you know, Danny Meyer, appreciate you, my brother. You know what I'm saying? You know, I love you, man.
You know, I love you.
Man. So it's just so good to see you, man. Tell your wife I'm sorry to have you for so long. But listen, that means you had great info, man. You probably one of the longest interviews I have done so far. But that's a good thing, because it ain't like people still, you know, still clicking in, answering questions and asking questions. So yeah, I appreciate you, Dan Meyer. You know, this was shoot from the hip. We ain't had nothing planned. We just started going, and I knew we would, so we'll be all right. So
you were supposed to send me questions. You forgot to. Though,
yeah, no, it's all right, because
that don't scare me though. That don't scare me, because the bottom line is.
I like when you shoot from the hip. That's what you good for. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the bottom line is I'm just telling you the truth. These are all the truths that I believe, right? Good. And if it can help one kid get better, or one parent understand a little different, that might help the kid. I mean, that's why we do it, right? We coach because we love the game, we're passionate, and we want to help the kids, and that's what it's about, right? So if that's something that we can do right and be honest about it, I'm all for it, man. So I appreciate you having me. I appreciate you people asking questions. You know, anytime you want me back, just give me a holler.
We're gonna have a mid-season, man. We're gonna have you on the road, man. When you're on the road, you know what I'm saying, and
do
get
that.
you
We
on
can
over
do
the
that.
summer, man.
You know
So
what I mean?
you know, give me a little update what's going on with
Yep.
have you on again, man. Bigger audience then, you know what I'm saying?
I got you, man. Sounds good, man.
All
Appreciate
right, Danny, I'll holler at you. Hey, tomorrow, listeners, tomorrow we will have Mississippi Valley State HBCU assistant coach coming on tomorrow at 3:00. Don't miss it. Going back to the college ranks, and got a couple more guests coming on towards the end. All right, none is going to be as more entertaining than this guy right here. I guarantee you, man. Okay, this guy is, you know, you got the tame Danny Meyer right now. But anyway, I love you guys, man. Danny Meyer, appreciate it. Love you, brother, man.
No problem, man.
Coming on. We will be on tomorrow at 3:00. I want to say peace and love, man. See you guys tomorrow. Peace.